Hi everybody, welcome to Programming Fundamentals. This is just a brief introduction. For those of you who were at the open day, you've heard it all before, and for those of you who couldn't make it, just this is a few slides that we went through on the day, just so you get a little introduction into what we'll be doing, what the module is all about, and really what to expect on the first day of lectures, which is the 20th of January. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, it doesn't want to move first. Okay, so here's our slides that we're going to be looking at today. So we're going to be talking about who we are and what the lecturers are on the course. Okay. Let's try that again. Okay, so it doesn't want to move. So what we'll just do is we'll go with this slide here instead. Okay. So hopefully you can see our slide deck. So we'll get started. So we're going to talk about the lectures, who we are, the tutors, how we're going to structure the delivery, what the technologies we are using, most importantly, what your assignment is going to look like, and how we have some troubleshooting labs. Okay. So I'm Siobhan Roach, I'm one of your lecturers. Mairead Maher, who some of you will have met on on-site, and Pete Windle will also be joining in as a tutor on the course. So between the three of us, we will take it in turns to give you your lectures, your online lectures, and to tutor you in your labs. When you send in messages to Slack, and we'll get to that in a second, you can say which one of us you want to ask or answer, or leave it open and one of us will get back to you. Okay, this is our profile and our email address. So if you want to contact us directly, you can. But as we said, we use Slack primarily on this course. So we would be hoping that you would be using Slack, okay, to contact us. Okay, so the structure is 12 weeks of delivery. Every week we'll have 2 lectures. So those lectures take place on Monday and Wednesday from 12:15 to 2 o'clock. And then we'll have 2 labs during the week. So it depends what day we're going to have our labs. I think we usually have them Mondays and Wednesdays, but we'll come back to you on that and let you know, because sometimes it doesn't suit you, and we also meant to make sure that we're not on the same night as the web labs. So we'll come back to you as to exact night we're going to have our labs. But your lectures will definitely be Monday and Wednesday. We start around 12:15, and we usually start kind of, as close to 12:15 as we can. From about 12:10, you'll see we'll probably have a countdown of some sort, and then you can join in. Okay. Outside of our lectures and our labs, we'll also have lab support. So during the week, you'll be given labs to do yourselves, and we'll ask you to go away to do them. Either come to the labs if you have any questions, or if on a Thursday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon and there's no lab that night and you're stuck on something, just pop it up in Slack. So again, at the start, you might feel more comfortable sending a message directly to one of us, so to myself, Pete, or Mairead. But really, you should be putting it into the programming channel. And after a while, we'll answer it there. And after a while, your fellow students will start to answer, and you become a real community, because you're going to help each other as time goes on. Okay, but if you put it in, usually within 24 hours, Monday to Thursday, I would say Monday to Friday, we will answer you back. Okay, over the weekends, there will be a little bit of a delay, but we will get back to you as soon as we can. Okay, our learning technologies that we use is tutors, and you've all had a good roam around through tutors at this stage, because you've been using it from day one. So when you went in and had a look at your induction, you were using tutors. We also use YouTube, and that's what we go live on. We sometimes give you a few quizzes, and that's in Socrative. We use Moodle for your assignments, so that's where you'll pop them up. And then, of course, we use Slack and Zoom. So we'll use Zoom maybe for the labs or whatever, or maybe one-to-one sessions during the year. And we'll use Slack, and that's, as I said, our main form of communication. Okay. So over the 12 weeks, we're going to learn the Java programming language. And to do that, we're going to start off the first 4 weeks by using something called processing. And again, a lot of you have played with it. I've seen some great images being drawn in our programming channel, so thanks for that. So for the first 4 weeks, we'll have an introduction to processing, and then we'll move on to IntelliJ. And IntelliJ is an IDE, so that's a development environment, which gives us a little bit of help when we're programming. So it gives us, it suggests things, it, packages everything quite nicely, but it's also, an environment that we have to learn. So there's a bit of learning there as well, okay? And we'll get to that in week 5. So this is our calendar for the year. So you'll see that it's broken into what we call sprints. So the first sprint is 4 weeks this year, and it'll end up, we'll have a reading week. So that's a week when you don't have any lectures or labs, and that gives you a chance to catch up. So what we would always say to students is try not to fall, any more than 3 weeks behind. So keep up with your lectures and your labs. If you can't make it to a lecture, we would ask you to, if you can't make it to a lecture, we would ask you to listen to it back. So some people think that they can, listen to it back maybe at 1 1/4, 1 1/2 the speed. I can sometimes talk a little bit fast for that, but that's fine. And then you can stop it at the important parts and, pause it, go away, try what we're showing you on the screen, and then come back to it. So being able to stop the lectures and restart them and come back to them is great. So they're all up and they'll all be live after our live session. I would say to you, no matter what happens, get your labs done. Follow them through one by one. Do everything that's on it. And if you don't understand something that's on it, just ask, because that's what we're here for. We're here to help. So just ask. We'll go through it either in a one-to-one session. If it's something that a few people are having an issue with, we might go through it in the lab and we'll record it and put it up. Or we'll go through it in a lecture. So, at the start of the following week's lecture, we might take 15-20 minutes at the start to go through some of the questions that we've got during the week and to go through the code and to explain the code fully. So it'll give you a chance to see the way we do it. Is it different to what you've done, and where there was the misunderstanding or where you needed to learn? So really, our lectures are set out, as in the topics we're going to do are set out, but we will change them up to suit, the speed that we're moving at. Okay, and we will include any questions that we get. And again, during the live lectures, you can pop into Slack a question and we'll answer it there and then. So don't wait to the reading week. If there's an issue at any stage, just drop us a line, stop us in the live session and ask. Okay. So again, I can see that our first 4 weeks are going to be processing, and then we'll move on to IntelliJ. So this is going to be the breakdown of what we're going to do with you. So first week, we're going to learn a little bit more about processing, what it is, how we use it, all about the X and Y coordinates. In our second class on Wednesday, we're going to start having a little bit of fun. So that's when we're going to animate our drawings. So we're going to make a move. So after your first week, you're going to have stuff that you can show people. The people who have drawn the cat, your cat can move now, or your house can change, the lights can come on and off, or it can change from day to night, or whatever it is you want to do. So we're going to learn how we can animate. Then we're going to move on to the basis of all programming languages, selection, if statements, iteration, okay, it's repetition. We're going to talk about methods or functions. So we're going to learn how we bundle our code together and call upon it. And then still in processing, we're going to learn about arrays and strings. So after our first 4 weeks, on week 3, you'll have got your assignment. So you'll be working away at it steadily. You'll finish it off over a reading week, and then we'll come back in week 5 and you'll be ready to go again. So in week 5, we're going to learn all about IntelliJ. We're going to learn about the JVM or Java Virtual Machine, and we're going to learn how to output and input data. After that, we're going to kick off with like one of the real kingpins of object-oriented programming. So up until week 4, we're kind of always looking at programming, but we're learning to do programming, in a sequence. After week 6, we're going to be using classes. And if you think of it, that's how we think, on a daily basis. And we're just going to learn how to do that. So what a class is, it's a blueprint for something. So if Volvo are creating a new car, they don't create each car individually. They have a blueprint for what the EX40 or whatever is going to be. And then each car that's created can be created with a different color. It can be created with different types of windows. It can be created with a different, gear, whether it's automatic or whether it's, a shift stick or whatever they're called. So our objects are going to be created based on the template. The cars are going to be created based on the template for that. We're going to learn a little bit about that in week 6, week 7, 8, 9, 10. From there on in, we're using our object-oriented principles and learning more about them while continuing with our basic programming that we learned in our first 4 weeks. And we're going to build on our knowledge until at the end, we're going to have, a fairly meaty project that we hand up at the end. So we have 2 big assignments, and we'll get to that in a second. And then between week 6 to week 10, we have mini assessments, and they'll help you when it gets to the last assessment. Okay, so again, our assignment 1 is really based on our first 3 weeks work, and it's worth 25%. Our assignment 2 is worth 60%, and then the 3 assessments that we have in here, they're each worth 5%, so in total 15%. And what they do is they build on what we're doing at that moment in time, and then you put them all together and we would use them for our second assignment. So once you have done the mini assessments, you're in a really good place to get that 60% for your final assignment. And you can see that we finish up at the end there in May. We have 2 reading weeks, and then you hand up your assignment. Okay, so our assessments are, we have assessment 1, which is processing, assignment 1, which is processing, assignment 2, which is IntelliJ, and then our lab-based assessments are all IntelliJ. Okay, after assignment 1, we may interview you. We don't always, but what we will ask you to do is we may ask you if you want to explain some of your code. So after assignment 1 and assignment 2, we reserve the right to interview you. So the whole aim of programming is, and these assignments, is that you don't use the internet too much to get your answers. You don't use AI, so you're not going on to ChatGPT and you're not having a look at ChatGPT and getting your answers, because honestly you learn nothing from that. The only way you learn is you do something, you make a mess of it, you fix it, you do it again. And that's how you learn. And if you don't follow those steps, if you skip those steps and jump straight into getting something like ChatGPT to answer your questions for you, then you're at a loss. You've lost that whole section of learning. So if we see code or that we need you to explain, or we just want to, you to have a chat with the way you've done your code, and we'll give you a quick interview, and that'll be over Zoom. Okay, so again, it's 100% continuous assessment. It's all individual. We submit via Moodle. So you will be set up with your Moodle accounts, and I know you haven't got them yet, but we have a Moodle account for each of you, and we'll get them to you during your first week. When we say it's hard deadlines, what we mean is assignment 1 and assignment 2, we will tell you these are the absolute deadlines, they're hard deadlines. This is the date that you have to have it in. If you need an extension, we will, if you have a reason. So if there's a mitigation reason why if we, you've been unwell, and we may ask for a sick note. So we may ask for evidence. Okay, but at all stages, keep us in the loop. Don't wait until the day after or the day of your assignment. If you're not going to make it, and you know a week in advance, or 2 or 3 days, just drop us a line and say, look, I'm really struggling here. I need a little bit of help, or I'm not well. I know I'm not going to make it, or something has come up, because this is life. This is like, you're working, and there's work issues, there's work stress, there's home stress, and this is another type of stress. So don't make it more stressful by not communicating. If there's an issue, communicate, and we will help out as much as we can. And again, we will interview you if we need to. Okay. So if you're troubleshooting during the lab sessions, just post the issue in Slack. During the lab sessions, we're online. So myself or Pete or Mairead might be online. So we'll have told you at the start of the lab, hey, I'm here, give me a shout, I'll jump onto Zoom. Okay. We encourage the classmates to help each other. If you can explain something to somebody else, then you really understand it. And I would say, if you know something, don't be afraid to pass it on. But you've got to remember that we always want everyone to pass on the information in, the nicest way possible, so that we all feel really good about our learning and the learning outcomes. All our responses will be via Slack. So if you ask a question, even privately, sometimes what we will say to you is, this is a question that will affect other people. I'm going to put the answer back into the programming channel. Or I might ask you, hey, if you don't mind, can you write up your answer and put it back into the programming, because it's going to help other people. Okay. So outside of labs, if you're having an issue, search in the chat room, in the programming chat room, or you might have made up your own little channels for, for people that you've met, or people that, you think you're gonna, from your area or whatever, and you might ask them. Okay, check Google, you can ask ChatGPT if you want, but what I would say to you is, when you get these responses, if you don't understand them, don't use them. If you don't understand them and you want to use them, well, maybe put them in, ask me, and I'll respond and I'll explain it to you. But don't use a solution that you find and think you understand it unless you understand it, because you're just kidding yourself and you're not learning. So if you get an answer from somewhere else, make sure you understand it. And if you don't understand it, ask us to help you understand it. Okay. And if you can't find the answer, or you don't want to use the internet, just post it on the Slack programming channel and we'll get back to you. Okay. So what's the ethos? So the ethos is it's self-directed learning outside of lectures and labs. So you can go away and you can break whatever we give you and fix it. Okay. Be inquisitive, be motivated. So what that means is, we'll give you code, you'll write it in, you learn nothing. So what you've got to do is, we give you code, you write it in, you change the code, you break it, you fix it, you do something else, you say, okay, in processing, for example, this code gives me a red box. How would I create a purple box? How would I create a purple circle? How would I put a triangle over this? How would I make the Irish flag? So you take what you learn and you add to it, okay? And don't just accept. We want you to keep learning as you go along, okay? Help your peers. As I said, when you help others, you're helping yourself, because if you can explain to someone, you really understand it. Stay current with your module, and don't fall into the trap of submitting someone else's work. Okay, it must be your own work. Okay. So again, we're going to start off with processing, and in our first week we'll go through this again, but it's a programming language that's used by visual artists. Okay, different programming languages can be used for processing. We're going to use Java, but you could, if you wanted to, use JavaScript, Python, and it can be used on different platforms. Okay, so if you wanted to create an app from your phone, you can now create one using the Android one. Okay. And processing is increasingly used to teach the fundamentals. And the reason for that is it's fun. So it kind of gets you started, and you can see that you want to do things, you want to learn, because it's visual. And when we get on to IntelliJ, it's not as visual, so it's not as exciting. But processing really kind of draws you in, and it helps you stay motivated and be acquisitive. Okay. So I can see when we were here during on the Friday for the on-site, you started programming. So hopefully now you'll have some started programming and processing, and you'll have played around with it. And if not, don't worry, we're starting on Monday the 20th, so we'll get started then. Okay, talk to you then.